Lacto fermentation gives the habanero such a fantastic flavor, and being that we're making a hot sauce with them, the end result is having a hot sauce that is fully flavored, fully developed. The fermentation process takes about a week, so we're going to start with that, and then we'll move on to making the sauce. Make sure you give the habaneros and the carrots a thorough rinse. Just under cold water is more than adequate. Jars, make sure they're cleaned under hot soapy water, and the cutting board, the knives, your hands, obviously everything needs to be completely sanitized when you're lacto fermenting anything. So I highly recommend wearing gloves when you're handling habaneros, since how hot they are. I'm pulling the stems off, and we're gonna cut these in half and remove the membrane and the seeds. It's definitely kind of a sauce that you want to make when you're at home alone. You don't fumigate the whole house. I'm really taking a look at that membrane and the seeds and make sure there's not any kind of moldy parts in it as well. And what color the seeds are, because I definitely wouldn't want seeds in my fermentation that are looking kind of suspect like that. See how the good ones are a little bit more white in color. So I take 2 carrots, cut them in half, and then I cut them into thin slices. I'm cutting the habaneros in half and thinly slicing the carrots. That way they cook a little bit quicker when we go to actually make the hot sauce. So I take a clean mason jar, put it on the scale, zero it out. I'm gonna put the habaneros down in the bottom. Also gotta add 4 cloves of garlic and 1 shallot that has been quartered and 1 cinnamon stick. I want to make sure that everything is submerged underneath the water, so I put the heavier things on top of the lighter things that are kind of have a tendency to float up. Periodically kind of push all the ingredients down. I'm not getting super forceful with it because I don't want to juice the habaneros. Next is gonna go in 1 cinnamon stick. The cinnamon is gonna give the hot sauce a beautiful flavor. Gonna go in with the garlic cloves and the shallot. So the habaneros are the hot part. The carrots add a sweetness. The cinnamon adds a beautiful just profile to the hot sauce. Garlic and shallots, because I love flavor. I gently press all these ingredients down so that I could fill up the jar up to that neck right here with filtered water. So I take that final weight, which is 839 grams, and multiply it by 0.025. And I'm gonna round that up to 21 grams. Take an empty mason jar, a lid from another mason jar, and you're gonna pour out that liquid into the other mason jar. Put it on the scale, zero it out, and add the 21 grams of salt. I'm using fine sea salt because it dissolves the best in the water. Kosher salt might work, but it won't dissolve as easily. Stay away from iodized salt. Put a lid on the mason jar and give it a shake to dissolve the salt. So I'll take this salt water solution, pour it back into the jar that has the rest of the ingredients. That's as simple as it gets right there. I like weighing out the ingredients because it's more consistent and it's more accurate. So I had some habaneros fermented throughout the week that we're gonna actually make the sauce out of. I'm just using a glass pie dish to catch any kind of liquid that might have overspill and place a weight right on top. I found out that a baby food jar works perfectly for these mason jars. But you could use a ramekin or you could use a plastic bag, whatever you have. That's gonna sit in my pantry for about a week. So now let's start making the sauce. I like to go about 7 days when I'm fermenting the habaneros. I found that has the best flavor. Drain that brine liquid out and make sure to save it for when we go to make the sauce. So let's hop on over to the stovetop. To start making the sauce, I get a medium-sized stock pot, put it over medium heat, put in half a cup of vinegar and the contents of the jar and a little bit of that brining liquid, and we're gonna bring that up to a simmer. Really just enough liquid to barely cover the ingredients. Make sure you have a lid handy because once it does come to a simmer, you're going to want to cap it. You don't want to fumigate your house. I'm cooking the ingredients for 2 reasons. One, it's going to kill the fermentation process. We already have the flavor there, so we're good there. And it's also going to cook these ingredients, making it easier to puree. I'm going to grab onto one of these pieces of carrots with some tongs and squeeze them, see if it's cooked all the way. I think we're ready to start pureeing. So high powered blender or immersion blender, drop it in and let it rip. I'm gonna strain it out now. I've got a bowl to catch the sauce with, fine mesh strainer. You could probably tell when I was pureeing it that there's a lot of pulp in this. That's just the skins from the peppers, the membranes, the seeds, you know, that kind of thing. The fermentation process takes the longest. The whole cooking length that it took to make this sauce is about 15 minutes. I mean, it's super easy. So I get most of the good stuff out. I'm gonna switch that ladle out with a rubber spatula and really just try to get all that beautiful sauce out of that pulp. Worked really hard on it, so you want to make sure you get as much of it as possible. It smells incredible. It's actually starting to burn my throat a little bit, but it's not nearly as bad as when I first made it. Learned from my mistake. I had all the windows shut. I had no lid on it when it was simmering. Completely fumigated the house. It was miserable. I was coughing, my nose burned, started tearing up. It was crazy. Should have known better, but wasn't thinking. But learned from my mistake, you know? That looks pretty proper. I actually really like the consistency on it. If I wanted to thicken it up just a little bit, I could put it back on the stovetop and just let it simmer until it reduces a little bit, but that's completely optional depending on how thick you want it. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm actually almost a little scared to taste it. Holy fuck, that's hot. I like it though. It has beautiful flavor on it. The carrots and the shallots and the garlic add a beautiful sweetness to it, and that lacto fermentation process just really gives this hot sauce a fantastic flavor.